So let's go ahead and bring in Mike Westfall. He's the Vice President of University Advancement over at Oakland University. Mike, thank you so much for being with us on the Oakland County MegaCast.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is great.
Tell us a little bit about the your program and what it does, and we know the need is great, but what does that money go towards?
Yeah, so in normal times, so pre-pandemic, we spend a lot of effort engaging our various constituents, alumni, friends of the community, corporations, and foundations to generate financial support for our students and our programs. And in universities around the country, this is what we do to try to make up the difference between what state funding provides and tuition dollars. Over the last 20 years, there's been a disinvestment in higher education around the country, and Michigan's no different. Only 80% of our budget, or over 80% of our budget, comes from tuition dollars. Only 20% from the state. 20 years ago, those numbers were reversed. And so fundraising for us really helps make a good experience, an excellent experience for our students and our various programs in the community.
A few years ago, just a couple years ago, I was looking at taking a couple classes, and I couldn't believe from the time I went to college how much tuition is raised from then to now, and making it so inaccessible. So these students are doing what they can. They're taking out loans, but at the end of the day, too, those sometimes they're still going hungry and they're still needing a place to stay. How do you support those students? And it's important to keep them in the classrooms because they're going to help all of us in the society later on down the road if we can get them through the process.
Absolutely. What you've seen around the country, and I think that Oakland University, I've been with the university for just over 2 years, and we do an excellent job of providing student services. We have an outstanding support team in student affairs that focuses on that. And so again, pre-pandemic, we have all these support services and programs already set up. Once the pandemic hit, we really stepped up, and from a fundraising standpoint, we tailored our message to really focus on immediate emergency needs, because when the economy sputtered to a stop, a lot of the majority of part-time employees weren't able to work, and students, when they're working their way through school, which the overwhelming majority of our students also work while they're going to school, it really negatively impacted them. And so our university leadership with Dr. Orhurst Peskovitz, her and Glenn McIntosh, who oversees VP for Student Affairs, and our Chief Diversity Officer, it was very important to them that we created a safety net, if you will. And so at the inception of the pandemic, we started various fundraising efforts and generated over $200,000 in support of our students that were in need, with the majority of the funding going to our COVID-19 Student Relief Fund. And it went to help with things like that you mentioned, food insecurity, utility bills. There were so many issues that popped up as a direct impact of the virus.
Mike Westfall with us, Vice President of University Advancement at Oakland University. Mike, with all this money that has come in from the fundraising during the pandemic, how many students, or about how many students, has that helped to keep not only learning at Oakland University, but keep them living with the basic necessities during this tough time?
It's helped hundreds of students. Well over 300 students have benefited from this. And then also the federal government, we participated in the CARES Act, and half those monies went to help towards $500 awards to the majority of our students.
Mike, I know a lot of organizations and nonprofits, they're having such a hard time with fundraising right now because businesses are cutting back, individuals are cutting back on what they're donating. Are you at Oakland University feeling that impact as well?
We are, but in different sectors. And so, as a good example is that we've seen a dramatic increase in support from the regional foundations. We're fortunate that in Michigan, and particularly within Oakland County and in our proximity to Detroit, that there are a multitude of foundations that have really stepped up. And so we're grateful for their leadership and their ability to support. Corporations, they've pulled back a little bit, understandably so, because they're going through their own financial challenges. And I have to admit, I've been, pleasantly surprised at the generosity of our alumni and our friends. A great example of that is, we've had over 600 donors just to our COVID relief funds, totaling over $200,000. And then when you look at our faculty and staff really embrace the student population in the core mission of the university. I've been at a number of universities and consulted at a number of universities. I've never seen as much engagement from faculty and staff as I have here. Every year our faculty and staff contribute over $500,000 to various scholarships and programs throughout the university, and we have record participation. Last year alone, we had over 1,600 donors, to the All University Fund Drive, and so we're fortunate, we're blessed that we're in a very caring place as Oakland University, but I also believe that the region has done a lot in terms of stepping up and helping those in need. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on, that I'm very proud of Oakland University, is that during this time, it really wasn't just about helping our students. It was also about helping the community as well. And so we were able to do two major initiatives, and of many, but our two major initiatives were that we turned our Oakland Center, which is basically the student union, and it was a beautiful building, but we turned that into a food pantry for the community. And partnering with local organizations, we were able to actively, hand out food during the worst period of the pandemic. Also, we ended up, through Dr. Peskovitz, we were able to offer up some of our residence halls for the region's healthcare professionals. And so we were able to secure funding again from the community and area foundations to support the housing of folks during the worst of the pandemic, because we were able to house healthcare workers that did not want to necessarily go home in the evening and potentially pass on the virus to their family if they had it. And also some healthcare workers were brought in to help with the early surge. And so Oakland University is really has been about our students always, but also about the community as well.
So many different areas to think about, and so many different areas that needed help during this time. How do you prioritize who gets what, and who you can help and who you can't?
Yeah, I think that we basically we've been able to help everybody that came to us, and if we weren't able to, we were able to point them in other directions. And so it was never a no with a slam door in their face. It was just like because we have run out of some funds, but we were able to direct to some other areas and some other sources that they may be able to get assistance.
Mike Westfall with us, Vice President of University Advancement at Oakland University, our Facebook partner on today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast. We thank the university for joining us on this OU Friday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. And Mike, in terms of trends that you've seen over the course of the pandemic, how has giving in our community, specifically in the Oakland University community as it relates to your fundraising, changed?
Well, I think, and it's no different from even us doing it this way through Zoom. Everything's become much more virtual, and that's going to be a challenge for fundraising in general for the foreseeable future. When you talk about philanthropy, it is really about relationships. People seem to view what we do as, we get labeled as fundraisers, which I get. Because that's ultimately, our ultimate goal. But my goal is about relationships. If I have a good relationship, or if my team has good relationships with folks, money's a byproduct of that, of course, but so is advocacy, awareness, and participation. And so, in relationships, as we know, it's face to face. And so right now, having to do everything via the internet and via the computer and screens, it makes it a little bit more difficult. But what we've been doing is that we've been reaching out more, my team, rather than just relying on the face-to-face. One of the first things that my team did, because we have so many just wonderful people that support this great institution, is that, we called everybody and just said, "Hey, how you're doing?" and just tried to check in. Do they need anything? Was there anything that we could do to help folks? Because ultimately, that's what it's about. It's about the relationship. If someone makes a contribution as a result of that relationship, that's great. But really, just like we care so greatly about our students, we care a great deal about the folks that support this university, our alumni, our friends in the community. So it's just switching to the virtual environment, and understanding and appreciating that folks are going through some financial hardships right now. And so we are not going out of our way to ask as much as we normally would. It's really just about listening and being there for folks, and then keeping people abreast about what's going on at the university. How are we responding to the pandemic? How are our students? What kind of experience are they going to have in the fall? And then those conversations many times lead to, what can I do to help? And once we get that question, then we can point them to a number of our COVID impact funds. So, for example, in the beginning, we really focus on the immediate impacts, but right now we're starting to transition more towards focusing on scholarship support for the fall and then even into next spring, because enrollment for folks is going to be a challenge because of financial pressures. And so we're really switching our focus to from helping with the light bill or rent or food insecurities, to really focusing on the long term of keeping folks engaged in their college, in their university and educational journey. And that's going to be a major priority going forward. And we're starting to see some folks really step up and help with that scholarship support, so folks don't have to take a break. Because as we all know, we all have friends that decided they were going to sit out for a semester or sit out for a year, and that semester or that year turns into 5 years, 10 years, and they never complete their degree. And we are about degree completion here at Oakland.
Yeah, we see that all too often. Mike Westfall, Vice President of University Advancement at Oakland University. And, Mike, you talked a little bit about relationships and the importance of relationships. So for the students who are out there struggling, or you have a business that wants to help, or an individual that wants to help, and maybe they have expertise in their field, if they can't give money, is there a way to mentor students as well to try to support them in that arena?
Yeah, there is. One of the things that we've seen a lot from various, from folks, is that they might not be able to have assets, but they can contact us if they have potential positions through our through career services, internships, part-time work. So again, a part of that an umbrella of support that we have within student affairs. We do a great job of placing people in jobs. And so if there are potential employers in there that would like a good, college student to either part-time or internship, that's always welcome. We've had some folks step up. Right now, we're in conversations with a major company, automobile company, that wants to give us PPE. And personal protection equipment, and so we take a lot in terms of gift in kind. We've had folks donate masks and different materials, and so there's always an avenue that if someone wants to get involved, we can try to find that fit. And I'd like to do just a little bit of an infomercial, because I've experienced this firsthand, and it goes back to the internship piece. I was amazed in my first year here, seeing the support that we get from the corporate community in terms of how many internships are available to our students. Over 90% of our students are from Michigan, and over 90% of our students stay in Michigan. So an investment in Oakland University and in our students is really an investment in the local economy. Well, when we moved here from the state of Washington, my son transferred from the University of Washington, and he secured an internship with Borg Warner. And then 2 months prior to graduation, which was just this summer, he was offered a full-time job, and he would not have gotten that without that internship and without the great relationships that our career services team has with the corporate community. So again, there are challenges out there for our students. And the key thing to remember is that we may not have all the answers, but we care, and we will help find the answers and do everything that we can to support our students. There's a multitude of things that we can do and that we're willing to do.
Mike Westfall with us from Oakland University. And again, we thank you for being our Facebook partner of the day. You talked a little bit about relationships and the internships. And I know coming from broadcast, your internships are pretty much everything. One of the things that can make an internship hard, though, is when they're non-paid internships. How do you suggest students balance the two arenas and still make it through their courses? Because time management is a big thing when you are a college student.
Yeah, well, I think everything's a test, and I view everything as a challenge. When I look at in my personal case, it was a paid internship for my son, and the majority of them, from what I've seen and heard, are paid. But for those that are unpaid, I think that it's very difficult to balance. But I also find that students figure it out, and one of the things that we're teaching through the education process, and Oakland's no different in this way, is that you're teaching resilience. Because if you're able to figure it out and grind and take advantage of the support services that we have on campus, and so let's say that you are having challenges balancing, we have extensive counseling services on campus. Our advisors can help manage and work with students about different techniques that they can use to prioritize or manage what they have on their plate. The key thing is not necessarily just having solutions, but having that support network, which we have in spades here at Oakland.
So, just out of curiosity, when it comes to your fundraising, how much comes from like individuals and small businesses versus larger corporations?
Yeah, the majority of our fundraising is from individuals and alumni. Interestingly enough, we have a relatively young alumni base, given that we were founded in 1957, and so we have well over 100,000 alumni. But the average age is a lot less than most of our peers. The corporate community has been very been very, very generous, but they have limitations as well. So over 70% of our fundraising comes from individuals, and right now we're in the midst of a comprehensive campaign. It's our largest campaign ever. It's a $150 million campaign that was launched in November of 2018. We were fortunate to have Malcolm Gladwell here on campus to assist with that campaign launch and celebration. But right now we're about $77 million towards that goal, and so we're right on track. And our fundraising is, remarkably, we're seeing record results over these last several years. This year, I'm a little bit concerned it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but I'm confident and I'm optimistic that folks will continue to step up.
Mike, I think a lot of people, when they think about giving money, especially to a university, they feel like it has to be a lot of money. I would imagine even in these days, if it's $5, $10, $15, give up your Starbucks and help a student.
Yeah, what's funny is that a lot of organizations focus on, how much, which can be important, in some cases, but we focus on how many. Every relationship's different. Everybody has different capacity levels, or different desired goals that they're trying to achieve. And our role really is just to be a conduit to help them achieve their philanthropic goals. No dollar is too small, and conversely, no dollar is too big. But it really is up to that individual. And so we're here to help them and help them fulfill what their ultimate goals are. And so annual gifts are very important. And we get a lot of gifts, for scholarship support. The larger gifts tend to be towards specific initiatives, but everything is, over 99% of our gifts are restricted to an intended purpose. We do not get a lot of discretionary giving because folks want to know exactly where their money's going. They want to make sure that's having the desired impact that they want. And it's our role to facilitate that and make sure that that their investment is going exactly where they want it to go, and that it's being utilized in the way that they want it utilized.
I know, as you stated, or as is stated on the website, an education for students today means a stronger tomorrow for the entire community. If someone wants to donate, how can they do that?
Well, we have obviously go to the website, first off, but, we have a ton of information there. There's the ability to make an online gift to a multitude of designations. But I always prefer the face-to-face as much as possible, or at least voice-to-voice. And so if people are interested in giving at all, helping with any of our COVID impact efforts, particularly that of scholarships, because again, I think that's going to be absolutely critical, not only for our university, but for all universities. And so if anybody's listening to this, they may not have any affinity or connection to Oakland University. They may have their own home university. That's fine. Give there. We're happy to accept any philanthropic support for our students, but philanthropy is about how people feel, and where their feelings lie, or with the institution, or also just supporting the community that they live within. The majority of our individual donors are surprisingly, in some cases, are non-alumni. That makes up the majority of our donor base, because I think that folks recognize the impact that Oakland University has, in Oakland County, but also within Southwest Michigan and in the region. And so, whether folks give to Oakland University, that's great, but just give and support those students. But if people are interested in supporting Oakland, they're more than happy to reach out to me, and I will connect them, with a member of my team, or facilitate it myself. We're just grateful for the support and the consideration.
And we're grateful for your time this morning. Thank you so much for being with us in the Oakland County MegaCast. Stay safe, stay healthy, and go Grizzlies.
Thank you so much. This is a great service you folks provide to the community, and it's very much appreciated.